So my videos don't actually have really any direction. They're kind of just going from flow with this channel. I just want to turn on the camera and just start getting out whatever I got to get out. And I don't know. This just feels awesome to me. It feels like this is some of the best content I'm ever going to create for y'all out there in what do we call it? The landscape that is this video game called Earth. I don't know what version of Earth, but yeah. So in this video, I think we're going to talk about meditation because that's the last thing that came to mind before I pressed record. So let's go with meditation. I single-handedly think meditation is one of the strongest things that you can do among your entire journey, whether it be conscious creation, manifestation, attraction, just law of assumption, whatever you want to do. Visualization through meditation and just meditation in general can be one of the most powerful ways to bring that reality straight to you. And the reason why is because if you can get to a state in meditation, which I'm going to have some techniques for y'all, or a specific technique that I think is one of the greatest ones that worked for me and it worked in real time, I'm going to start with that one, but then go to other meditation techniques that I've learned and done for myself that actually helped me do a lot of shadow work, do a lot of just regulating my nervous system, things like that. Because I am truthfully a big believer in you having to work out your nervous system because some people just get trapped in this cycle of, learning manifestation or coming into this type of information and not understanding why they're not getting results, and then it turns them bitter. But it's like if you really address the self concept, shadow work, whatever, and you address it, these you won't feel bitter when you don't get results. You'll actually start to understand why you're not getting results, etc., etc. But the first thing I want to talk about in this whole meditation thing is candle meditation. We'll start with candle meditation. Candle meditation is super, super, super baller. It is so badass. I absolutely love candle meditation because there was a time when I was in Texas, and one of the things that I did was I was working security, and I was working by this door. The position that it was called was cup check, but essentially what it was I was in charge of if anyone came through this back door, like the backstage door is only for the artist to get through because pretty much when this part of the bar there's like this outside venue, but there was this indoor bar restaurant thing upstairs, and some of the events didn't need to use that down bar, but people could come down there and still get drinks. So the artists would usually come to that back door, whether it be Bryson Tiller, whoever that was there would come to that door. Um so I had to make sure that, and also I should add this on because is also whoever had a certain like backstage pass or things like that, certain you know um credentials can go through that door. So I had to just check and be aware and look at the pass. I didn't really bother too many people. I just kind of looked and made sure that they had the certain passes, and I seen the passes in the beginning of the day. We got like the briefing for the night and how it was going to go. But anyways, one of these nights it was a bit it was going to be a bit hectic, but it was a bit slow to start, and there was going to be an indoor band playing, and I remember there that this bar that I was working in had these candles across from where I was usually like supposed to stay in my spot, right? And I said to myself, and this is why I say you're an alchemist with all this stuff. I said to myself, I wonder if I can candle meditate from this distance. And the funny thing, like I've come to know now, is your whole entire life is essentially a meditation and a prayer. But of course it would work because I'm the one that's making it work. I am the power. So I look across from the place I'm stationed to these candles, and I'm a pretty good distance, away. And as I'm looking at the candle, I'm doing exactly what you do in candle meditation. So let me explain the process. What you want to do is, and I'm giving free game here. This is pretty fire. Which again, yeah, you you look at the candle, and essentially, in my own words, what you're doing is you're feeling how the candle flame is its own energetic force and entity, and you are your own separate force and entity. You do that for a little bit while you're focusing on the candle and you're just staring at it. And don't be afraid to blink or anything like that. Mostly, what you want is to kind of get into this trance like state, like you're watching the flame dance. And basically be its own entity. And then you feel the connection between y'all. You feel the energy of the molecules that may be not as strong because you're not as close in relation to the candle, but you want to feel that sort of energetic cord. If you know about astral travel and lucid dreaming, that silver cord that people talk about that pulls your soul basically back into your body. I've actually had a dream. I'll talk about that when I get into another video because that's for a whole nother video. But essentially, you want to feel or try to visualize this silver cord. The thing is some people are heavier on the feeling, some people are heavier on the visualization. So whatever works for you, feel the flame as its own independent entity and put your energy also into you. So feel yourself as your own energetic source and power source, and then feel both between y'all. When you begin to get into this meditative like state, and what's another good thing about it, and it's also called single point meditation and single point focus, is that you won't really be thinking about your thoughts. You'll be visualizing this energetic cord between you and the candle. So if you actually put the work and apply yourself, it should work, and you shouldn't really have thoughts. That's another one of the things that I enjoy about candle meditation, because your thoughts aren't running rampant, which is, I know, a lot of people's issue in meditation. So after you're doing this, you should be going into this trance like state. You should be going into this state of kind of like relaxation. You'll kind of be feeling like one with the candle. Then you'll also be feeling yourself and feeling like your energetic surroundings, whatever the case. But during this time, you are actually in what Neville Goddard or all these dudes talk about when it comes to meditation, whatever, the drift. You are in the drift. You're actually in this state of like you're accessing straight through to your subconscious. You have kind of broken down the conscious mind in that moment. And sometimes you might get a little sleepy, a little woozy. I've felt this too. Do not pass out. Don't close your eyes, by the way. Like, you can close your eyes, but if you're doing it at work, which I was doing, don't close your eyes. Just, feel it for a second. And I've taken some minutes to like close my eyes, but I would just advise don't do it. But you're going to get into that drowsy like state, the I think it's like alpha state, whatever, that sleepy state, and things are going to appear foggy. When you're in that state of things appearing foggy, or maybe you just feel this intense focus, you can begin to visualize something to happen. So what I did was I said, you know what, I really want to prove that I can instant manifest. Now, beforehand, I never saw any videos online talking about instant manifestation. And of course, because I knew the concept of energy and how your imagination was the true world, I did have a bit of an understanding that the real world was created from my mind. So, but at the time, I wasn't truly like in the knowing of it as I was now, because it's almost like I kind of went up the mountain and went a little bit back in my journey, where I knew these concepts, I was embodying them, but not all the way at that point. But definitely now, I have never gone back. And the thing is you can never really go back in your spiritual journey, no matter what. You're a spirit having human experience, so you're never going to be able to go back and be like, oh, I'll just fall all the way back, or then it wasn't really the journey you were on anyways. You were kind of doing it for intellectual gain. But anyways, nonetheless, keep at it, keep doing it, be focused, because then I'll show you what happens next. So then I wanted to test this visualization and see if I can materialize something within the next few hours, which I ended up doing, which is freaking crazy. So that day, I want to give you all some preface for these last 2 minutes. That day, I was not inspired to go to work. I loved the job. I absolutely loved it. But the reason I wasn't feeling inspired was I felt like I was alone, that there weren't individuals that were actually thinking on my frequency, whatever. I was feeling outside the box. I was like, damn, dude, like, am I always going to just be an old soul no matter how old I get? Because I've always been advanced, right? Funny enough, I start meditating, doing the candle meditation in my shift, and I start feeling good because again, I validate myself. So it wasn't even the job not making me happy. I just got in my head about not really meeting individuals that were too spiritual, which I want to say that Austin, Texas definitely has a vibe and definitely attracts people for a certain reason, because I did meet tons and tons of spiritual people out there. But I also met the ones that it was more of a spiritual ego and not raw, which, getting into what I manifested, if you're curious, I said that somebody is going to need my help, right? But it's not going to just be anybody. It's going to be an individual that really just needs me, right? In a couple hours to come, right? one of my coworkers ends up telling me about how she's into spirituality, all this stuff, telling me about like things. I don't want to get too personal into her information, but she was telling me about like, this individual who tried to curse her, things like that. Then after that, I thought it was her. I was mind blown. I actually ended up telling her, yo, I think I manifested you because we never had met working before. But she said, maybe that'd be crazy. I wouldn't be surprised, right? We some other stuff. Then, right, she leaves because she wanted to hear the rest of my story because we're just sharing stories. Would not prepare me for what happens next. I think she leaves for about an hour. And in this hour, a woman comes up crying. She comes to me and then she's just like, yo, can I just cry on your shoulder? Instantly in that moment, I knew exactly what was happening. I said, yeah, of course, like feel your emotions. Like, don't feel bad. Because she was saying she's above what she's crying about and she shouldn't be crying. She felt, bad about it. And I was like, no, don't feel bad about it. Like, just cry. Like, you can feel your emotions. And she felt like the situation again she was crying about was below her. Long story short, this night ends up turning crazy. Some other dude that's like conscious comes up to us and he's in a wheelchair and he's having this conversation with us, and she's over here telling me her whole life story about her husband and how he, like, I think he owns a lot of the real estate of the high rises that were being built there. It was and I was like, bro, this was all off of going a simple meditation to find, like, I knew that someone was going to need my help. It was like that. It was like a natural visualization. I wasn't trying to make someone need my help. It was just like a natural download that came in. I said, damn, some woman is going to need my help. Watch. And I was like, and watch this individual be kind of on my level. And literally, when she started to talk to me, she was literally telling me how she's into that darker yoga shit where really she goes into the like shadow work. She's deep. Like, and I was like, wow. And this all happened off of a single candle meditation. So that was proven to me that you can manifest certain things in instantly and in a few hours. Like, things can happen. And anyone to tell you otherwise, I'm living proof of that. Like, I'm literally living experience. So it's like I don't even have to go out here and try to flex any of this. It's like I really want to share this with y'all because you need to wake up to your own power. Like, when that shit happened, I was literally fucking shocked. I'm telling you, literally shocked, because I have manifested certain things that fast, but not like that, because it was literally like this woman was a complete creation of the aspects. Because I'm not going into detail because I don't want the video to be too long, but understand, I made this pretty intense. I didn't want it to just be a random event where my mind logically could latch on and be like, oh, it's just a coincidence. Like, no, this individual ended up start just telling me part of her life story and part of why, like, the reason she was crying and the things behind her psychic gifts. And I was like, oh, squeeze me. Like, this was crazy. So that's also why I tell you, just really, this shit is for real. It is for real. Anyways, much love, you guys. I'm gonna head out of here, but I hope you guys enjoyed it and understand. There's other meditations that I was gonna mention, but like, I'll mention them really quick. I'm sure I'm gonna be talking about them in other videos. But Ho'oponopono, that's a strong one I use for shadow work. And then visualizing like an apple or an orb that goes into my chest is another technique that I use. And I think meditation just overall helps you deal with a lot of things, whether it be trauma and things just in your field, anyways, and definitely gives you an aura that makes you feel like attracting things to you. So, anyways, much love, and I'm out of here. Peace.